we got some interesting stuff to talk about today, Krystal. You know, we were chomping at the bit to get to this one.
Oh, yeah.
We listened to this together, an AI conversation of you and I debating breakfast foods. We listened to it together, and there's so much we wanted to say, but we were like, save it for on the air.
Do you have on the name of the guy who made this? Let's give a shout out to him.
So Jesse Newman is the guy's name. It's at Filmantopia, Filmantopia. He put this together. Shout out to him. So what he did basically, we'll play it for you guys in a second, the AI debate between me and Krystal. He heard you and I cover that new Drake The Weeknd totally fake AI generated song.
Yeah.
And my commentary was like, this really is a turning point. It blew my mind. Not only did it seem real to me, it seemed even better than other Drake and The Weeknd songs.
Yes.
And so in the process of that commentary, I made the argument, I don't think it's there yet with conversation, because there's still something like I've seen the ones online, Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan talking totally AI generated, Joe Rogan and Ben Shapiro talking totally AI generated. There's still something about it that's in that uncanny valley that sounds a little too robotic. It doesn't have the flow, the rhythm, the cadence of a normal conversation.
Yeah.
And so he basically wanted to rebut that. And he was like, look, this is my response to Kyle saying you can't be tricked by an AI conversation yet. And he thinks this proves his point. I still haven't changed my opinion, but nonetheless, let's listen. We'll react and we'll give our actual position on the substantive discussion here. So everybody take a look.
We're going to discuss something that might seem a bit silly on the surface, but we've realized that we have some pretty strong opinions on this particular topic.
Yeah, it's one of those debates that you don't expect to get heated, but somehow it always does. And it's about a staple in many of our lives, breakfast foods.
Exactly. So the great debate is, which is the superior breakfast food, pancakes or waffles? Now, before we reveal our stances, let's just set the stage a little bit.
We've got pancakes, the fluffy, delightful discs that can be dressed up with various toppings and fillings.
And then there are waffles with their beautiful grid pattern, crispy edges, and those little pockets that are perfect for holding syrup, butter, or any other topping you can imagine.
So without further ado, I'll reveal that I am Team Pancakes all the way.
And I am firmly on Team Waffles. I mean, come on, they're clearly the superior choice with their perfect little compartments for all the deliciousness.
See, that's where you're wrong. Pancakes are versatile, they're fluffy, and they absorb the syrup like a dream.
You can't beat that.
I think you're forgetting about the delightful crispiness of waffles. Pancakes can get soggy and mushy while waffles maintain their texture.
Oh, please. Pancakes are like a warm, comforting hug in the morning.
Plus, you can make them in so many different ways. Blueberry pancakes, chocolate chip pancakes, banana pancakes.
Oh, wow. I'm so impressed by your 3 pancake variations. Waffles have just as many options, and don't even get me started on the versatility of waffles when it comes to toppings. Whipped cream, fruit, nuts, the list goes on.
Okay, I'll give you that. Waffles do have some nice topping options, but
pancakes are the ultimate classic. They're simple, yet satisfying. Sometimes less is more, Krystal.
Are you calling me high maintenance, Kyle Kulinski?
Not at all, my dear. But sometimes you do have a flair for the extravagant.
Well, maybe I do, but I just think waffles bring a little extra pizzazz to the breakfast table. Plus, they're easier to make. You just pour the batter into a waffle iron, and you're good to go. No flipping required.
Oh, the flipping is part of the fun. It's a skill that takes time to master, but when you've got it down, there's nothing more satisfying than a perfectly flipped pancake.
Well, I guess we'll have to agree to disagree on this one, Kyle. But I still think waffles are the clear winner here.
And I'm not backing down from my love for pancakes.
But hey, that's what makes life interesting, right? Different opinions and preferences.
And we still love each other despite our breakfast differences.
So apparently the AI knows we're together, which is kind of funny, right? So I'll let you react first, then I got a whole list of stuff I can get to, but go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, I'm curious from your perspective, taking our own personal opinions and personalities out of it, whose AI do you think won that debate?
That's fun. I'd actually never thought about that. I would probably lean towards your person, though.
Yeah, I think my AI was a better debater, too, because there's this one, the point where I get a little bitchy and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm so impressed with your 3 variations of pancakes. And then my comeback is like,
to give 3 variations.
Have tons of toppings. And then I'm like, nuts, whipped cream, fruit. The list goes on.
And I don't call you out on that.
Yeah, you don't seize on the moment to be like, you just gave, oh, I'm so impressed with your list of 3 toppings,
yeah,
Krystal.
Obviously, real world Kyle. That was the first thing I thought when I heard it. I was like, I would obviously respond with like, you just gave 3.
So in terms of like how close to real life it is, your voice is totally off. Mine, I think, is closer to my actual voice. Your voice, to me, doesn't sound like you at all.
So hold on, let me
Yeah.
just interject. You
Yeah.
say it doesn't sound like me at all. I say they're like 45% of the way there. I
that's
hear
fair.
that it sounds a little bit like me, but I think, and credit to Mac, good politic guy, he pointed this out originally. It sounds more like a mix between me and Ben Shapiro.
It's has some of your cadence,
Right.
but in terms of the actual tone of the voice, it doesn't.
It's more nasally. It's a little more high pitched.
It's too high pitched. It
It's
just
too
doesn't
high-pitched.
really sound like you. So there's that. I think mine sounds a little bit closer to. I think it sounds like my voice.
Your voice is better, but I would still argue not perfect.
Not exactly right.
No.
The other thing that he mentions is the way the conversation unfolds, which is very like it isn't organic. It's very like presentation-y.
Yeah, there's no rhythm.
He said that might be because what he fed into the AI was more our monologues versus our conversations.
Yes.
And that may make it more stilted than if he fed into it more like our actual back and forth.
But then do that, right? Like, I
Yeah.
want to hear what it sounds
I
like.
wonder what that
I'm
would be.
still skeptical they could give it the real rhythm and cadence of a conversation, because when you're having a conversation, it's not black and white. It's not like you speak for a block, then I speak for a block. There's always like little nuanced interjections here and there. Like, it's like a dance. You jump in, then you jump back out real, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's all these different,
Yeah.
and that, I don't think it's even close on that front, to be honest. If anything, this, makes me want to double down on my take that it's not there yet for conversations. But having said that, I would be interested in hearing, if you feed the AI, you and me talking in conversation, is it going to be closer than what we just listened to there?
It almost feels like what this AI generated is more like what a scripted conversation between the two of us would be. Because you're right. In normal conversation, there's always natural, a little bit of over talking, a little bit of jumping in, a little bit of interjections. And this has just very like, I'm going to make a point, and then Kyle's going to make a point, and then I'm going to make another point. And
There's no rhythm.
Yeah, there's no rhythm to it. We listened to this earlier in the week, but we very intentionally tried not to talk about our reactions to it. What team are you actually on?
So the AI,
or
I would say the AI is half right, in my opinion, but here's how they're half wrong. I think pancakes at their best are better than waffles at their best. But waffles overall are way more consistent. If you get bad pancakes, they're just bad. And also, by the way, my bone to pick with pancakes is they're too filling. Sometimes you have one and it feels like you had like four and it sort of weighs you down.
Yeah.
Whereas waffles could be like fluffy and not weigh you down and not be too filling. So if I'm going to order waffles a higher percentage of the time than I'm going to order pancakes because they're just more consistent overall.
So does that put you on Team Waffles?
I mean, yeah, it puts
You have to pick.
it puts me 55%, 60% on Team Waffles.
Okay.
But again, my only reservation is that the best pancakes I've had in my life are better than the best waffles I've had in my life.
Yeah, see, I guess this is another thing that the AI gets wrong. I actually more or less agree with you. I would put myself, though, on Team Pancake because of exactly what you said. And I specifically make a lemon ricotta pancake that I think is amazing.
Delicious.
With some berries and whatever
Amazing.
alongside of it. And to me, I've never had a waffle that competes with like that level of pancake. Now, waffles are also more convenient in that some of the frozen waffles are genuinely good.
Yes.
Like the Eggo.
Eggos are banging.
I like an Eggo. I have no problem with an Eggo,
OD.
especially the home style ones. I don't know if y'all have tried those, but those are pretty good. But overall, if I had to put myself on a team, I would put myself on Team Pancake. So the AI has it actually exactly reversed.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, again, like I said,
Not that there would be any way for the AI to know what our breakfast choices would
no,
be. I'm
but
just
you know what?
noting it's
Look.
funny that we are actually on opposite teams.
this may sound silly though, but if you're gonna do an AI version of me and it's gonna be accurate, it should be able, at least in the realm of politics, to accurately reflect roughly what my beliefs are. Like if you put into ChatGPT, remember we did that one time, have Kyle debate
Yeah.
Trump on ChatGPT? It wasn't that impressive. It was just like a generic Republican versus a generic Democrat.
Yeah.
That's how it read.
Right.
But there's no way they can know on this issue what our positions
We've
are.
never
so
said anything
yeah,
about
so it's
it
like I'll give
ever.
them a pass on it,
Right.
right? But at the same time, it's like when AI really gets to to the most extreme point, like when it's its most advanced, in theory, it should know what I think more than I even do. And like when I sit down and think it through, it's like, actually, AI just got it exactly right. That's exactly what I think about it.
The thing that also, the part of the conversation that actually read the least authentic to me was the
I know what
like
you're gonna say.
relationship-y part.
Yep.
When I'm like, oh, are you calling me high maintenance?
Chances Krystal would say those words to me are literally 0%.
And chances you would say, well, you do have a flair for the extravagant or whatever
D,
you say.
disrespectful.
You would never say that.
That is so disrespectful. And also when I called you my dear,
Yeah,
I don't know if I've
you've
ever
never-
called you my dear. I call you
Yeah.
babe, I call you baby. Like there's, sure, little pet names here and there, but my dear, what am I, 78? Is my name Gerald? Do I drink prune juice? Like, what are we talking about here, my dear?
So yeah, that was actually the part that rang the least true to me, was that little like relationship-y back and forth, because that was not true to us at all.
But I will say that my favorite part, and the part that I think is most accurate and does kind of capture the essence of me a little bit, was the line about like pancakes are like a warm, comforting hug in the morning, or pancakes are fluffy like a dream.
That was
I
the
said
part
something like that.
I could hear you saying
Yeah,
that.
'cause that-
like, they
okay.
absorb the syrup like a dream.
Yeah, it captured me on that one. You know, like sort of almost like a Trumpian sounding but slightly more intelligent like analogy. Like that totally is
Pancakes
something
are
I
a
would
dream.
say. Yeah.
Yeah. True.
That part I enjoyed very much. So yeah, look, overall, if I had to grade it, what would you grade it? I'll give it a C+ or B-
I
in
give it a
terms
B.
of.
I give it a B.
Yeah, so I'm a little more pessimistic than you, or a little more down on it than you. But look, it's still impressive. It's still impressive.
very
And again,
impressive.
shout out to the guy who made this, Jesse Newman on Twitter.
Yeah,
I mean,
we got
this was fun.
We really got a kick out of
Yeah,
this.
we definitely got a kick out of
It was killing us
this.
to not talk about it until now, but we wanted to save our reactions to be as fresh as possible. The last thing I'll say about it is, I wonder if there isn't, though, a sort of last mile problem here with AI, because you see this
Right.
with the automated driving, where they can get most of the way there, but then like they can't figure out how to do a
Nuances
left
are
turn the
everything.
way that human beings do a left. You know, they want the car. This is something Sagar has told me because he has a Tesla. They want the car to just go like boop, boop, the way that you technically would if you're perfectly following the rules of driving.
No, it's dumb.
But humans don't do that.
Yes.
Right? And you could have the same thing, like you were talking about, that little bit of interjections and overtalk that makes a conversation natural.
Can't do it.
That could be very difficult for AI to figure out how to really do. So
No,
there
it's
might
impossible.
be a real last mile problem here, where you get close and you can have things like this where you're like, oh, that actually sounds really good. That's very impressive. But I'm still not convinced that this is an actual conversation
So-
between the two of them.
We have this issue with our Ford truck. They have an automated driving thing.
Yeah.
There's another car we have too. Same thing. Same
It
issue.
centers you in the lane.
So
is what it's
you
supposed
put
to
it
do.
so like you press a button where it does like semi-autonomous driving. Like you're supposed to keep your hands on the wheel, but it does like semi-autonomous driving. Here's why I despise it with a burning passion. When I'm driving somewhere, there are so many little nuances on the road that I account for. So let's say we're on a road where the speed limit is 55 miles an hour, a little bit up there. And it's a country road, 2 lanes, and cars come this way at 55 miles an hour, and you go that way at 55 miles an hour. By the way, it's probably more like 62 if we're being honest, like the actual speed you're going. In a situation like that where one car's coming this way, I'm going this way, I am going to not be right in the smack dab middle of the lane, because if this car's in the middle or if this car's floating a little closer to my side, I want to give it a little more space.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be a solid 3.5, 4 feet further to the right for safety reasons, to
Right.
give myself as much space as possible, make sure if there's any issue, you could swerve out of the way, whatever. There's all these little nuances that go into driving, and you don't understand how important they are until you're using a system that doesn't account for them.
Right.
And then you realize, hold on now, they have to program for every little nuance. And you just can't do that. There are too many nuances when you drive. There's
Yeah.
it's the old saying, common sense is not so common, and AI does not have common sense.
Right.
It has like broad rules that they try to abide by, but then you also, by the way, when you're programming it, you're going to run into moral conundrums too. What happens if you're in a situation where you have to pick between, whatever, a young person, like you either veer into one young person or 2 old people or something, like,
Or like
you have no
hitting the raccoon or coming to us or swerving or what, you
Yes,
know?
there's all these different things that you can account for. So instinctually, I tend to agree with your point, which is I think the last mile problem is maybe insurmountable. It might be insurmountable. But having said that, I wouldn't be surprised if they can clear it. I just think it's going to be a lot harder than a lot of people pretend. Like there's a lot of tech bro, AI bro types who are so bullish on everything AI. And it's like, it seems a little naive and almost a little religious to me, the way these people talk about it.
I guess what I would say is even if they don't clear the last mile problem, I still think it could be transformative. So,
of course. It already has been.
Right. So, for example, if you think about the news business, which is, the business I have the most familiarity with, if you have AI that's able to take in like all of the relevant reported out news about the Trump lawsuit, let's say, and when you go and search for information on this lawsuit, rather than having to click through to the New York Times, the Washington Post, whoever, you get the AI generated like amalgamation of all of this information. Like you could see AI doing a decent job of that. That means people aren't clicking through to the website. That means they don't need to go through a paywall. That means they don't need to have an ad served to them. Like that in and of itself upends the entire news business model. So even if they don't solve that last mile problem, this still could be a tremendous sort of like revolutionary, for good or ill, force within our society. And it's very frightening to me that, number one, our legislators have no real ability or inclination to think deeply about these things and how we properly regulate it. And number two, perhaps even more troubling, is that this is now being, captured by the same giant tech monopolies that have captured everything else. And so they will use this technology to exploit us for profit in ways that are undeniably, undoubtedly going to be contrary to our personal self-interest, probably to the interest of our country and a democracy and whatever, in all the same ways that we've seen this happen with tech companies before.
Shocking that under capitalism, tech innovation is not being used to enrich all the people, but it's being used to enrich a very, very tiny number of them.
That's
yeah,
exactly right.